Hi guys!
And welcome to another episode of To My Younger Self.
The #1 support network for students and graduates.
Made by young people, for young people.
It's Alicia here.
And it's your girl Praise.
And today we are joined by the face of LSE, the absolute GOAT on LSE YouTube, one of the OG LSE YouTubers. It's Imogen White.
We tried it.
Messed it up a lot of times.
I feel like we've rehearsed it maybe 3 times, and till this day, I'm not very sure we're 100%. She's got a little thing to sort out.
I have an issue with something.
But other than that, I'm glad you liked it.
It's because when I say it's Alicia, that's the part that I don't like. They're going to have heard me say this too many times now. It's the part when I say it's Alicia here, because we tried to use our normal intros, but my normal intro is, if you haven't seen my face before, my name is Alicia. It doesn't really work for like the Spotify or Apple listeners, so that's why.
Oh yeah, true.
But anyway, over to you. How are you feeling?
I'm alright.
Good.
Yeah, I'm well excited. This is the first time I was saying to you guys, right? I've not been filming, recording anything for the past few months, and
so we're bringing you back from the dead.
Does it feel nice, or does it feel like ooh? Like,
it does. No, it does. I'm a bit on edge, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah.
No, you'll be fine.
This is like proper professional setup.
No, honestly, it's a chilled conversation. I think it'll be quite fun because obviously I haven't seen you in quite a long time.
Yeah.
True. We have a lot to.
Exactly. So for more context for the listeners, all of us went to LSE together, and we've all actually filmed content together. But this is the first time I was thinking about when I was walking here that we've all filmed together at the same time. Because we've all done collabs on each other's channels, but never the 3 of us.
That's true.
And we was meant to. Do you remember? We was talking about it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't actually remember.
Well, me and Imogen were talking about it.
No, we definitely talked about it, but it was like just before we left.
Yeah, because then obviously
you were in
graduated.
the depths of finals, and I was in the depths of like exploring outside LSE opportunities.
And guys as well. So obviously, Praise and Imogen are from the year above me at LSE, and so I watched both of your videos before coming to LSE. So I'm kind of a fan, and it's a little bit weird.
Oh no, stop it.
No, but yeah, Imogen and I are in the same year.
Yeah.
We were in the same year. We graduated together last year, and I don't remember when we started speaking. I feel like it was 2020.
It was second year.
Definitely second year.
Uni and first year.
And then I feel like that's the same time I started speaking to Alicia as well.
Yeah, because I remember you reached out to me.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I reach out to you as well?
Yeah, you did. And when
so
she reached out, I was
guys.
like,
I'm a beg.
And I'd not done anything with anyone because, like, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when you started, but I started my channel in the depths of COVID. In my little bedroom at home, just talking to my phone, and then even the first year of uni, like we weren't in person. So then when we got to, it was weird to meet somebody else who did it as well.
I think I've just never done like a video with someone else. I feel like to me my channel felt like very. Obviously, it's like your channel, so it's like personal. So bringing someone onto it has to like. Me, it means a lot.
Was both of your first collabs then with each other?
I can't remember.
For me, probably.
I feel like it was. It's either one of you, but I would say collab with someone who also has a YouTube channel as opposed to someone.
Like my mum and dad were on there way before. Yeah, it's like questions I wouldn't ask my mum.
Oh, did you? I've not seen that.
Oh, I think that might be private.
Oh, I was gonna say I'll definitely need to watch that when I get home.
It was when I first started YouTube, and then like looking back now, you'll get this right. Yeah. When you look back now and you look at a video and you think, no, there's actually stuff in there that I'm like. Would I want my grandma to watch it?
No, I'm never like that.
Really?
I think I'm very intentional with what I put out. So I'm like, unless something has drastically changed in my life, then.
Well, I was telling Praise. Remember, I said that my channel that I have actually started when I was 13. But I used to post silly challenge videos, like licking salt off my arm and stuff. So all of those videos have been deleted and like wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's just like the stuff when I was doing it with my mum was like, oh, I'll ask her questions. Like it was like asking your mum questions that you wouldn't normally or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
but
the channel,
like
that's not the content we're putting out now.
No,
do you know what I mean? Like different direction. I was like, let's get rid of this.
It evolves over time, I'd say.
True, yeah.
But I would like to start this off with a segment that we have, which is called Vibe of the Week.
Okay.
We need sound effects. Vibe of the Week. Woo!
You don't need them put in, just get you to do them.
And what the Vibe of the Week is basically a recommendation from yourself, and we'll also give one on anything, like something that you'd recommend to our listeners, our viewers. Like, it could be a book that you've read recently. It could be a sport that you've done. It could be a holiday, a location you've been to, a movie, anything. It could be a snack, a drink.
Anything.
Let me know.
Do you want me to go first while you think of something?
What's your vibe of the week?
Or have you got something?
I think I've got something.
Okay, fine.
So earlier this week, I woke up, and I'm not at work at the moment, right? So I woke up on this random Tuesday morning, and nobody was around. Like, my parents were off working, my brother was God knows where doing something with his friends, and I was like, what am I going to do with myself today? And I had a little Google and spontaneously booked myself a trip up to Norfolk to go and sit, because it was lovely weather this week, go and sit at the beach on my own eating fish and chips, and I watched the sunset. And do you know what? It was like, I really sat there, the vision was there in the morning. By the evening, like, I sat there, it was probably about 7 o'clock at night. I'm sat there eating my fish and chips. Well, not fish and chips, don't like fish. But I was eating my chicken and chips by the sea, watching the sunset. And I just thought, you know, like, I don't know why, water makes me feel really calm anyway. And I just thought, life is too small. Like, we are all sat on a floating rock. You know, I get stressed about things. We all get stressed about things. But that was a vibe. Never mind vibe of the week. That was vibe of the year.
Okay, fair. You know what, Imogen?
I really
mine's
like that.
very actually closely linked to that.
Okay.
And mine's a self-care day.
Yeah.
Like,
do something for you.
Yeah.
When was it?
So it was this week. It was when I wasn't feeling well, and I woke up and I was like, I don't feel well. But I have a problem where I find that I always have to be doing something. So I feel very uncomfortable just sitting down and not doing anything. But I also very rarely ever take time out to myself. So I turned the day of me being unwell into a self-care day. Like, I did everything that I love. I painted, I went to get snacks that I like eating. But it's like, just taking that day to yourself, I really like that. I've done a solo trip to Brighton before and sat down, watched the sunset, had fish and chips. Great time.
You guys are going to motivate me to do some self-love.
Yeah, it's really
doing stuff on your own. I feel like that's like when you suddenly decide you're going to do something for yourself. It's like
honestly, because I'm so extroverted, sometimes I think I'm actually uncomfortable with my own company. I think it's a bit like what you said about I always want to be doing something and being outside as well. So yeah, I feel like that's a really good advice.
It's just empowering.
It's really nice. Or like, even, I don't know, I think the first time you do it feels weird. Like, I never, I think last year was the first time I went to the cinema by myself to watch
I do that a lot. That's one thing I do.
That's good.
Yeah,
but
I do
felt
that a lot.
so uncomfortable, like, ordering popcorn for myself. I looked back like...
Yeah. Have you ever gone out for a meal on your own?
Yeah, I do it more so now that I've been doing things alone, but not like an extravagant meal. Like, I'd go like spoons.
Yeah,
at the
airport. On my own. Yeah.
But I wouldn't go to like Nobu by myself. I think that's a bit of a stretch. But funny story on the cinema thing. So one time I went to cinema by myself. I can't remember what it was to watch. It wasn't that long ago though. I think it was the new Conjuring film. And I was so excited to sit there by myself, enjoy it by myself and take it in. Sat on an empty row and there's this guy behind me and I asked him, can he watch my bag whilst I go to the toilet and get some tissue? Because my bag was on my seat and everything. Came back, turned around and said, thank you. I thought, that's the end of the conversation. I'm going to watch my movie. Instead, he says, can I sit next to you? And one thing I need to learn is how to say no, because I'm too nice. I should have said no. But instead, I said, yeah, of course. Then he's climbing over the row. He's now sat next to me throughout the movie. Is yapping the whole time, shaking his legs.
It's unfortunate. That circumstance is unfortunate. But I get the thing on being able to say no. But it's also awkward. Like, how can I say?
It's so awkward.
No, like I'd feel bad. Like, it's the feeling I'd feel after.
Oh, see, I've got quite good at saying no recently.
Really?
That's good. Yeah, because sometimes I don't know. It's something about it. Like, I think about me 10 minutes down the line or whatever, or like half an hour down the line, I'm gonna be like, oh, this is well annoying, you know. And I'm like, no, do you know what? I deserve, like, I owe it to myself to be like, I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I then feel like I'm really compromised.
I agree.
So I'm like, no. And do you know what? People don't turn around and go, oh, Like,
true.
on the whole. And to be honest, if they do, most of the time it's... like, I'm not saying no to, like, people, like, my mum, dad, my friends, whatever. This is, like, random strangers. Am I ever going to see Joe Blogs off the street
I mean, I never would have seen that guy again.
What would you... Like, okay, if I said, oh, can I sit here? Like, is it okay?
No.
What would I say? I'd be like, oh, no, I'm alright, thanks. Or like, you just find a nice way to say it. Like, I don't just go,
I'd have to think of an excuse.
I can't, sorry.
Wait, guys, I didn't do my vibe of the week.
Alicia, so what's your vibe of the week?
So mine is a movie, and I think there's going to be a recurring theme that is always going to be a movie, because that's all I do is watch movies. So last night I watched Passengers. Have you seen it? Either of you? Okay, good. That makes it even better. It's a sci-fi film with Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, definitely.
It's kind of oldish.
Oh, is it where they're on the plane?
On the ship, yeah.
Oh no, I haven't watched it.
Well, it's not a plane. It's in space.
Yeah, I've not watched it.
Oh, you've not seen it. Okay, everybody that's listening to this right now, including you two, you need to watch it. It's actually very, very good.
Okay.
And the concept of the film is basically they're on this like ship traveling through space, and it's like takes them 120 years to get to another planet. So everybody's in hibernation pods on the ship.
Yeah.
And then one guy, which is Chris Pratt, his hibernation pod breaks and he wakes up too early. He wakes up when he's got 90 years left, and he's the only person on the ship. Nobody else is awake. So he's like, what is he going to do? He can't send a message back to Earth because it takes 55 years to get the message back to Earth. So he's just like, you know what? The whole time I was thinking, I would be having a panic attack if that was me. I would be freaking out.
Yeah, I'd be stressed.
But my question is to you guys, based on this movie, is if you were in that situation and if you were Chris Pratt and there's a way for you to open one of the other pods and let out somebody else so that you now have company, but obviously you're now sentencing them to death, basically.
Why
would you
death?
do it? Because you're going to die on the ship before you reach the planet. Or you go insane on your own.
Look, I think if there's someone in one of the pods where we have a great connection, like we're vibing, we were friends.
No, that everyone's strangers. But there's one person you think, they're Leng. I could connect with them.
No.
You wouldn't do it?
I would.
I would.
I wouldn't, based on that. Like, that's not my premise.
Yeah,
I can't make a decision.
I would.
Yeah.
I pick the person I think is the most fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, I'd have someone, because think how much fun you could have together. Like, I'm sorry, we're all gonna, like, eventually we're all gonna die anyway. That's a bit of a morbid thought for a Friday, but like, why not enjoy those last however many hours, months, weeks, I don't know, however long you've got, with somebody else, like...
I'd probably let out someone helpful, like an engineer or something that can fix the problem.
But do you know things about them?
Yeah, is it like top trumps? Like, do I get cards?
Yeah, he
like,
basically has top trumps on everybody.
Okay.
Like, it's all like in sci-fi files or something. But anyways, good movie. Should watch it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's the next topic that we wanted to talk about?
So, next up, we're going to start speaking to you a bit about your life, your journey, what you're up to.
Okay.
And we're going to start off with your gap year.
Gap year number 1, number 2.
That's exactly
why
we speak about both of them.
Okay.
So obviously, we know that before you started or joined LSE, you did a gap year before starting, and then you also did one in the year after our graduation.
Yeah. Little sandwich.
Yeah. And that's very interesting because obviously neither of us have done either.
Oh yeah, of course.
I've kind of...
you just graduated. It doesn't count.
Yeah, true.
You're about to have your half gap year.
Half gap year. Yeah.
That's alright. My one last year wasn't meant to last as long as it did.
Yeah.
Fair. Unexpected. But what made you decide to do the first gap year before entering uni?
Okay, so... Go back to, crikey, when I was in sixth form, 2019. I applied to university because this was pre-Brexit, guys. I don't want to get political, but like, we were back in the day pre-Brexit. I actually applied to university in the Netherlands because it was cheaper at the time. So it's only, if you transferred euros to pounds, it's only about £2,000, £3,000 a year compared to the, £9,000 here?
Yeah, 9k.
A year.
That's incredible.
So I was like, right, okay, and so it would have ended up being, I think, about 6k for my whole degree. So I applied to the Netherlands, got in, because the way that, like, the application system was very confusing, but I kind of muddled my way through it, and you get an offer for 3 Cs. Like everyone gets this standardized offer because unlike UK unis where like you work your socks off to get in, and then once you're in, you try not to fail, but like to a certain extent, like you just breeze through it, you know. In the Netherlands, everybody they have these lower entry requirements, so loads of people get in, and then they like cull half the year every year. So like you have to work at uni, or that's my understanding of it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. 3 Cs was the entry requirement, which was not really a problem, given my like predicted grades and stuff. But what was a problem was getting accommodation. So their accommodation system works very differently to here, and there's like a housing shortage or whatever, and I wasn't prepared to pay like loads and loads of money. So essentially we got to a week before results day, so like middle of August 2019, and I still had nowhere to live, and the uni emailed us out and were like, oh, like we're still really excited for you to start. We obviously appreciate some of you will have issues with housing. For the first week you can sleep on the sports hall floor, and I was like, whoa, I'm not moving to another country. First of all, like I can't, not even like if I was just being like precious about sleeping on a sports hall floor, I mean, it would have been a big sleepover, you know, but like I couldn't set up a bank account. I hadn't got flights organised. How was I going to move my stuff across? Like, just little things like that. Like, it just wasn't... Practical. The stars weren't aligning for me. And I was like, I'm a big believer in the phrase, things are meant to be. Like, if things are meant to be, they'll work out, you know? So, that was not meant to be, evidently. So I was like, right, I have an offer for the Uni of Manchester to do a course called International Disaster Management and Humanitarian Response.
Interesting.
Which is like the most, like insane degree course. Like it sounded amazing, but what I thought was, you know, at this point I was like, oh, what am I going to do after uni? You know, the big dramas of like, I've got to pick a degree that's going to help me. Yeah. And one of the options I was considering was teaching. Well, when you want to go into being a teacher, it generally helps, and I say helps, like it's definitely doable without to have a degree in an actual subject.
That like, sounds like it, not disaster management.
Which is it's a niche degree, and I thought I'm not sure. Like I like the sound of the degree, I like the sound of the course, but I'm just not sure it's right. So I was like, right, the stars are not aligning for me right now, so I'm gonna have a gap year. And this was very out of the blue. Like, I plucked this out of the air a week before results day. And then on results day, my teacher was like, oh, like, what are you doing? And I was like, gap year? They're like, huh? Where did that come from? Yeah. And what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, that's still TBC. Like, I was very much still planning for that week. Yeah. So, yeah, I ended up going to Germany because I'd studied German at GCSE. Absolutely hated the subject. I had a lovely teacher, but just didn't vibe with the language. But let me tell you, learning a language in a classroom is very different to learning it in the country. So I was like, no, I'm going to give this a go. So I went interrailing for a bit, just after results day.
That's fun.
It was fun. I was very nervous. I stayed in hostels. I was exhausted the whole time. And I wasn't good at, like, having, like, being in my own company. I was like,
did you do that alone?
Yeah. All I was doing was like FaceTiming my mum and dad back at home, or my friends, and being like, look at this lovely view. But like, I did not go to exist for a screen. And I was like, I'm spending a lot of money on this, like, and I'm not getting what I want out of it. So I was meant to do interrailing for like 3 weeks and then go straight to Germany. Instead, what I did was 11 days, and then basically cried down the phone and was like, I don't think I'm enjoying this like I want to. Got on a plane home and had 2 weeks with my friends, or like a week and a half with my friends at home before they went to uni. Which I needed. Like, I'd been working all summer, I'd not seen my friends, and I just needed that time. And then I went out to Germany fresh, and did 3 months of au pairing.
Wow. Yeah. 3 months of what?
Au pairing.
What's that?
Looking after children.
Oh, wow.
So it's like nannying.
That's really nice, you know.
Yeah. And lived in this middle of nowhere in Germany.
Wow. That's given you some really amazing life experiences at such a young age.
Yeah. Well, so cool. I had my mid-gap year crisis at this point, in about November, because I still had my offer from Manchester. I deferred it.
Yeah.
And I was like...
For the same course?
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to go to Manchester all of a sudden. I was like, I really like living in a family. Like, I want to be close to my family back at home. Yeah. Because I want to be able to see them and whatnot. And Manchester has a reputation, right, for being a party uni. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, every uni has a reputation. Like, LSE's is for having no social life. Like, they're not true of everybody. Yeah. But I thought, like, I'm not a party girl at all. Like, I mean, at this point, I didn't even drink, right? So the idea of being around somebody, I don't know, who's doing drugs petrified me. I was like, what am I going to do? You know, if someone's like staggering about like that, sent me off in like a tailspin. Like, this was baby Imogen, you know? So I was like, right, Manchester's not right. And I live in Essex, right? So if you draw a circle around Essex and you're like, what unis do I want to go to for like geography, politics, that was what I was interested in. You either end up with the sea on one side, you can go up to UEA, but still like relatively far away, down to Kent, but the connections on the public transport are shocking, or you have London. So I applied to all London unis. I applied to King's, UCL and LSE.
Was there only 3?
I had 3, and then I couldn't even tell you what the rest of my units were like.
I applied to 3 or 4, and then I was like,
I think I put Manchester back on there, you know. I think I was like, let's give myself the option still.
So do you feel like you taking that gap year allowed you to take the time out to think of what you needed?
Yeah, I think it's always a useful, like, time away from education, time doing something else. Like, life experience is never wasted. You know, you'll go into it thinking you'll get one thing out of it. And normally it's the like hard skills of like speaking German, like useful, don't get me wrong, not the big thing that I took away from that.
Yeah.
You know, like it was the best year for me, but for completely different reasons.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, really nice to hear as well.
I personally feel like a gap year is never something I would willingly do. Like, but it's the fact that I'd be really uncomfortable with it. Like,
you
uncomfortable
don't feel
in making
like you're
a decision
moving
for such a long time. What were your parents' like reaction to that?
So both my parents have actually had gap years back in the day. So my mum had a place at uni and was ready to go, and her parents weren't particularly supportive of education at the time. So my grandparents, tables turned when she became a teacher. But anyway, they basically threw all of her stuff out the car when she'd packed it all on the day that she was meant to be moving to uni, and said, the only university you need, Pet, they're from Nottingham, the only university you need, Pet, is the University of Life.
Whoa. I see.
And she had no, like, they weren't prepared to financially fund her. And uni wasn't expensive, but like there weren't like loans and stuff, was all a bit different. So she had to have a gap year to save up the money to be able to afford to live at uni. So she worked as a care assistant, she worked in a prison, doing admin stuff, and she worked at the petrol station across the road from our house.
And saved up for uni.
So she worked these 3 jobs, saved up. The next year, her grandparents, my grandparents' parents, took her to uni.
I feel like it's interesting hearing about like different families' sort of experiences and perspectives with gap years, because I feel like in African households and in Caribbean households as well, it's like the word gap year is like a forbidden word.
Yeah.
It's like such a bad thing. But the way you've described it, I feel like it can actually be beneficial to some people, because like you said, even that little quote there, University of Life, like I feel like you've actually learnt quite a lot before you come into uni.
Yeah, for sure. So, it sets you up in a really good way. And I think it's across the UK. Like, gap years are pretty frowned upon, because this isn't true of other... I remember when I was interrailing, I actually got talking to some... They were from a Scandinavian country. I can't remember exactly. This was back in 2019, right? I can't remember exactly what country, but it's like everybody has a gap year. Like here, where 10% of people will have a gap year, 90% go straight to uni. It was 90% have a gap year, 10%. Like, it's strange to go straight to uni.
That's so interesting.
And I thought, you know what? Like, they've sussed it out. Because it's really useful. I can't remember the exact story of my dad and like why he had a gap year. I think it was something to do with like, he went off to do primary teaching. Now, knowing my dad, the idea of like drawing stick men and like I don't know, playing with the sand or whatever.
What does he do now?
He's a secondary teacher.
Oh, secondary, nice.
Yeah, and he's like, he loves it and stuff, but I cannot imagine him with children who are like 5 years old. My mum teaches 5-year-olds, right? I cannot imagine him with like 5-year-olds.
At least he started off...
He would like screech at them within 30 minutes.
Teaching...
I used to work with kids as well. Do you remember when I did Debate Mate?
Yeah.
So I did primary schools and secondary schools. I definitely preferred secondary, but the primary school students surprised me in terms of how... This sounds rude, but in terms of how smart they were and how clued up they were about the world, it's really shocking to think that like someone in year 2 or year 3 is talking about the political and economic state of the world.
I think times have definitely changed.
It's crazy.
Because back in my day, we would we were painting trees, enjoying life.
But do you know what? You found a love for, like, learning was fun back then,
Yeah.
Like, before you get to secondary school when they just hammer you with exams and whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it becomes stressful.
And it's like fun,
That's
you get
true.
homework and you go home to research it, like,
yeah,
and you bring it
do
back
extra
to your
homework.
And you want to do it. I think that's the difference. Like,
so
the amount of times I sat there and, like, resented stuff because it was for a GCSE or for an A-level or, like, parents thought for the degree. Like, yeah, it was very... very different. So that was the first bit of my gap.
And then, so then after that, you come to LSE.
I went to Nepal for 3 months as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so my first gap year, I spent September to December in Germany. And then I came home for Christmas. And then in January to March, I went out to Nepal. With voluntary services overseas. So they don't run the programme anymore, but it was a British government funded programme called International Citizen Service. And basically we fundraised £800 for 3 months in Nepal. And you go over, you're paired up with a Nepalese volunteer, and you go out to like a really deprived area and go and help. In our case, it was helping to set up a program in the community where we were able to support families to understand the value of education. So like the school was there, don't get me wrong, but like parents were not educated to a level where they could support their children. And also just like improve some of the understanding and education around like sanitation and healthcare and stuff like that. So that was really interesting. It was, no volunteer project which takes British kids from the UK, because realistically at the age of 19 I was a child, out to another country is foolproof, They got it right in terms of pairing us up with a Nepalese volunteer. Did they need to take out this whole bunch of this whole group of British people? Potentially not. Did we benefit a hell of a lot more from it? Probably than that community, yes. But so as an experience, it was fantastic. Yeah. But I think, and compared to a lot of other volunteer programs, it was really good. Yeah. But was it perfect? Absolutely not. Especially when you think, right, so we got brought home in a rush because of our old friend COVID, which hit whilst I was in Nepal.
Okay.
And they were like, we were watching, because you know how it kind of hit Southeast Asia. So we were watching each country like going to lockdown, thinking, Nepal's not that far away. It's going to be Nepal next. No, flipping the UK. It was kicking off over here, and then we had to have weekly meetings with the other, because we were spread across this whole like region with the other volunteers, and some of them had to walk 2 hours to get to the meeting. Like
walk?
Yeah. Like we were spread far apart. We were in different villages, you see. And we all got called in for this meeting. We got a message at like 6 a.m, being like, we're having a meeting today, and it was not our normal day. And we walked in, and like we lived some of the closest, so we were there in half an hour, and we just knew like from the look on the staff's face, like we were off, we were leaving. And it was hard because we'd done 2.5 months living with these Nepalese people who we'd become really good friends with. So at 6 that morning we were told we were leaving. The next morning we were collected at 6, and by 2 p.m. We were back in Kathmandu, and then by 5 the next morning we were on a flight home. Like, it was rapid.
It's intense.
You're meant to have
COVID
a whole
is
week.
such a trigger word for me as well.
Yeah.
What a horrible word. But then, so after that, you've done your travelling, your gap year, you come to LSE, and what halls were you in first year again? Passfield, and it was a three-man situation.
It was a 3-man room, yeah. So I didn't know the girls I moved in with.
Tell us about that. Was there any drama in that room that you can tell us about? Any tea?
Do you know what?
Sharing a room with 2 other girls.
It was. Crazy. That room was probably the best room I had the whole time I was at LSE.
Really?
Like, with complete and utter strangers.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's for the best. I was lucky, don't get me wrong.
Really lucky.
Like, Leah and Hannah, fantastic girls. I'm definitely still in touch with Hannah. Leah, we've kind of lost touch a bit, but like I could message her tomorrow and be like, I'm having a crisis, and the girl would be there in an instant. Like really weird moving in there. I remember moving my stuff in. Hannah had already arrived but gone out, so I was like looking at stuff on her desk, like the way she does her 7, that's European. Like, that was all I knew about this girl. Like, I could see her photos, but I didn't know which one she was.
That's crazy to know that.
Then Leah was 3rd year at the time, so it was 2 first years and a 3rd year. So she didn't move in till after. She was like, I'm not coming back for freshers, which makes sense. Like, she obviously told us this in hindsight, so she wasn't there for the first week. And we were like, oh, quid's in, we've got a 3-man room for 2 of us.
2 of you.
I turn over, so suddenly all this stuff appears one day. I'd been out for the day. fine. I was like, it was getting to 11 o'clock. I was like, bedtime. Went to sleep, turn over in the morning. This girl has appeared. I was like, oh, hi, you must be our third roommate. And that was it. And then, I mean, halls in first year was a weird place, right? You know, we were getting put into lockdown because somebody on the entire 30-man corridor had got COVID.
Jeez.
And that was it. Like, nobody was leaving for 2 weeks. All your food was delivered.
Halls is an experience.
Did you experience any in first year or not?
Yeah, so something that was funny that happened. So I was at Bankside, which is the most like popular hall style. It's the biggest one. And there was a funny situation. It was like when someone caught COVID, like on our hallway or whatever, you would know, because it almost felt like in the plague times where there'd be like a big red X outside of your door. Like it would just be like everyone knew, avoid that room, because it's like they had to stay in their room and they weren't meant to use a kit. Like I think they had designated times where they could use a kitchen, and then there'd be like cleaners that would come round. And there's this, anyway, my neighbour, I won't say her name, it was told to me that she had COVID, and then I looked out my window because I had quite a good view of like the whole like parking lot, and so I could see everybody coming in and out, which sometimes I used to be quite nosy because I would see some girls and guys coming back together on a night out, and I was like, all right, I've seen you.
Just people watching.
I was people watching.
I've got visions of you at like 3 in the morning, like, who's what gossip can I stir tomorrow?
Exactly. But yeah, so this neighbour of mine that was rumoured to have COVID, I just saw her walking around outside, and I was like, wait, are you not meant to be in your room? Like, what the hell? So that was the only experience I had with COVID. It really wasn't that bad. I think they were a bit more strict, but you could work your way around it. But honestly, the whole halls experience is so interesting because you lived at home.
All that's different.
3 years, isn't it?
3 years I lived at.
And you lived at home the last 2 years, or the last year, or
the last year. So first year was, so I was in halls for like 6 weeks, and then I'd been working at a boarding school beforehand. Like supporting international students who couldn't go home. And because they still couldn't go home because COVID was still rife, they needed looking after every school holiday, which doesn't quite align with our holidays here. But I went back there for what was October half term, so 5 weeks into uni, and basically never came back for first year. Yeah, I can't remember. I must have come back. No, I did come back up for the second half of first term.
Did you stop paying a com?
So I was still paying a com for... I was still here on and off for first term. And then, you know, in January, they were like, uni is like shut. And they were like, don't come back to halls. You could get money, like you could get your halls money back then. So I didn't pay for...
Interesting.
That's good.
Because I definitely know that some people like who were in Bankside didn't like...
Oh,
they all signed petitions to get their money back, and some of them like didn't pay at all, and then some of them weren't allowed to graduate unless they paid that money back from first year.
So I spoke to the accommodation office because I was having like an absolute meltdown about this in the summer because they were like, you owe loads of money, and I was like, hang on, I thought you were going to waive it, and they were like, no. Basically, if you say that you're going to move back in for the last 3 weeks, which is when you're allowed to, and pay for those 3 weeks, we can waive the rest of it. Like when you're not there. Like when you legally weren't allowed to be there. That sounds like a weird little loophole. You can waive it, but only if you pay the last 3 weeks. And I was like, but if I move out now, so I don't pay the last 3 weeks, I then have to pay like 12 weeks before. And I was like, 12 weeks versus 3 weeks. Like,
that's weird.
It's a bit of maths going on here. I was like, right, okay, so I'll pay £600 instead of like, I don't know what it was, like $3,000. And yeah, so it made sense. So I like worked it out, but it was confusing. Like they don't make it easy.
They really wanted their money.
Wait, was both of your guys' freshers week not a thing because of COVID?
It was groups of 6, wasn't it?
I don't know.
So there was no clubbing things, anything.
Oh, there was. No.
But you're not really a party girl anyway, so would you have participated?
I wouldn't have participated, but it was like groups of 6. Like I remember going to a bar with some girls, but it was like if it was more than 6 people, would be questioning it. Remember that time? Did
you go to any clubs or anything? Or
no, I definitely didn't go to any clubs.
I definitely
didn't. I feel like I went to a freshers event, but I can't remember. I did I did the treasure hunt. So was it LSU or was it law school? Well, my law school ran one.
It was each department did it.
Yeah, so my department ran a treasure hunt, and that's where it was a group of 6. Yeah, but only 5 turned up. and you go around London doing some silly tasks.
Yeah.
Of like finding like
I would see people
monuments.
like on the zebra crossing doing the Beatles picture all the time.
It was done by an app.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I actually.
And
that's
like,
such a distant memory. It makes me so sad.
It's like it was an app.
Don't
and it would
cry.
be like, go and recreate this image of the Beatles, and you're with like. At your big age of 19, you're trying to be cool, you know, and they're getting you to do tasks that honestly, like,
I remember
you would give a 7-year-old.
there was beef in my group.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
But it's because this girl was really passionate about it, and
someone else wanted to sack it
were
off and
literally
go to
like,
the
"Oh, let's go do something." I was like,
have you guys ever had any beef on the uni group projects? That's a good little.
I never had to do any.
Really haven't had
Law
much.
school does not. Oh, LSE.
What about LSE 100? Yeah.
It got cancelled
We
for
didn't
us.
do
We
that.
didn't do it.
Wait, so guys that don't know, LSE 100 is basically like this thing that you do in first year when you join LSE. It's just like a group project, like multidisciplinary project, where they bring different degrees together. I had drama on that.
I can
like
imagine.
low-key drama.
Everybody who does LSE 100 is like, it's the worst thing.
It's because it was dumb, because it was like, I get the idea behind it, but you're pairing me up with someone that studies maths and doesn't know how to write an essay, and you're making us all write a joint, like, 10,000 word essay. Who is going to end up writing that essay really and truly? The girl that studies politics and economics, or the guy that studies maths?
Or even take it seriously, or like find time. That's too much for me. Is it in first year that you do it, or throughout?
First year.
Yeah.
I did get a first though, so it was a nice little boost on the first year.
I don't know how they figured that out with, because obviously it's supposed to count towards your.
It counts towards the average for first year.
Or they like
count
it's
for
an extra
anything.
half module, so you can like replace one of your bad ones with it. But we just didn't.
We didn't
like,
get that.
Yeah, if you messed up, you messed up. Which, to be fair, for the sake of not having to do this group project with a whole load of math students.
No, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just remembered a bit of tea to do with LSE. I feel like I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I can't contain myself. Have you heard about what's happening with Manoush?
No. Is she left?
Okay, so basically...
Left where?
LSE. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, she left when
that
we
was
left.
I think you've been living under a rock. So, for those that don't know, Manoush...
I never saw that woman. Like, I was there for 3 years and never saw the woman.
Really?
I saw her once in an elevator.
So she is the president of LSE, or she was the president of LSE.
Yeah.
I had to sit down sort of dinner with her because of my scholarship. So I'd spoke to her quite a bit, and I thought she was really inspiring at first because...
That's a lie, I have seen her.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, we went to afternoon tea.
Oh, did you? That's nice.
When I was a member of staff.
Because she's done absolutely everything. She did... she's worked in the World Bank. She's like worked for
her CV,
everything,
like, written
like
papers.
everything. I was in the Foreign Office, for like a little trip, and I saw her face on the wall, like on a picture frame, and I was like, what's Manoush doing here? Do you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, so she left LSE, I think last year now. Because she got an offer to be president at Columbia in America, which is obviously a lot more money. So everyone was like disgusted that she took up the offer. And, capitalism.
I didn't know when she worked for these banks, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on, guys.
I was more pressed about the fact we didn't have her for graduation.
Yeah.
That's what upset me.
Who did you have?
I don't know.
Because you would have had like some interim...
I do remember.
Who?
But I think he actually works in the law school.
We'll come back to graduation because that's a nice topic. But anyway, so Manoush has gone to Columbia, and recently, she's only been there a couple of months, and she recently got sacked from the job because all of the students ended up hating her because the students there were protesting about, Palestine, Israel, and she decided to call the NYPD on them. And obviously the police over there, way more aggressive than UK police. So you've got like riot police officers with the big shields marching into the uni and like proper getting aggressive with all the students who are like peacefully protesting. And obviously everyone ended up hating her and she got sacked. And now it's like completely damaged.
Now she works, she does something for the House of Lords.
We googled it. What was it? House of Lords, yeah.
Oh, she moved back to the UK.
I know, but she took up the offer. Like I think they gave it to her, and she was like, "Yeah." But no, yeah. Graduation. I found graduation so overwhelming. Like, not in a good way. I meant like it was overstimulating.
But your vlog was so nice. So do you lie to your
film
viewers?
That was
like no, trying to film that was like
I know.
Even like having family meet friends, friends meet family, it was too much. And like
it is an intense day. I had a job offer at the time, and they phoned me and gave me the offer on the day of graduation. I also had So I'm under training with the Navy at the moment, which is what I wanted to do. So I had a job offer from like a council, because that's another job I'd applied for. And then I also had the Navy on the other line, like trying to tell me about like my medical and stuff that I needed to go to. And I'm in the middle of like, I'm late for my photo appointment. You know, I am in a dress in central London. It's swelteringly hot. My parents have like gone for a wander. God knows where they are, you know. There's loads of people who I kind of vaguely know and are waving at me, and I'm like, what to do? I didn't know what to do with my future, because I also had these 2 job things going on.
Fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this.
And we were going to go out for food in London, but like I hadn't organised anything the week before, because it had just been like too much. I couldn't think about graduation until the day, you know. Yeah. So we ended up going back to Essex.
No, fair. That's what we did. We went back
home and had a nice dinner back home,
lovely.
right? Aww. And it was good, because I was out of London and I felt like...
And it's like, you're closer to home. Once this is done, go home. Great time.
Yeah, I was like, graduation is done. I've left. My parents are clearly proud of me, because we've done today, you know? And we went to this nice restaurant, and I could actually like sit down and enjoy it. So that was the best part, I would say, of graduation.
You loved graduation.
Yeah, I think for me, I love the dinner that I did afterwards as well, because I think for me, it's taken me a long time to get to a point where I feel like I have a solid group of female friends where I know they're not going to switch up on me or be weird. Like, I feel like it takes a long time in life to sort of discover who those solid female friends are that you have, and they're like your sisters. And I feel like my graduation dinner was just my family and like my closest like female friends, and it was just really nice, because I was looking around the table and I was like, you know, I'm just so grateful.
Yeah,
it was cute. It was cute.
I think like seeing your graduation was like, I feel like this is how graduation is supposed to be, not what, like, I genuinely feel like, I don't know, maybe it was just our year.
Yeah.
Those couple of days were hectic, and it was boiling hot.
Oh yeah, my day wasn't too hot as well.
I didn't really know what to expect. Luckily. I think that's the thing. And like going into graduation was like, like I just didn't know what it was going to look like. I was nervous.
So with that nervousness for graduation, you're talking about like how you had one job offer, and then also like dealing with
that was all like, that was stress that didn't need to be there, right? But the nervousness was more just like, I think also because we started in COVID, like I very much, and I don't think I was necessarily comfortable with the people around me as such, because we didn't really know each other until the end of first year, and then like you'd kind of see people, but like stuff wasn't really in person. And so graduating, like I had a few close friends coming out of uni, but there were a lot of people on my course who I was like, I didn't really know.
Yeah, same.
And like graduation felt like a lot with like family suddenly being in the environment that they're not normally in, and like I didn't know what was going on. I knew I had to walk across the stage, but like what did that look like? Like no one preps you for any of that.
There's
you
not
just
much you're told.
Expected to turn up and like
and hold your card and then hand it at the right time.
Would my cap fit? Like little things like that. And I know it sounds really silly, but you've worked for 3 years for this. You want it to be right.
Yeah, you want it to be perfect.
And I just thought, like, there's so much potential for stuff to go wrong.
I've got a good question for you, actually. I feel like, just from hearing you talk today as well, you've navigated a lot of, like, interesting things that not necessarily a lot of people have. So firstly, you've got your gap year that you navigated, then LSE and the whole application process there, and then your second gap year, and also then navigating... you know, choosing between which career path to go down, and then choosing something like non-orthodox of like an LSE graduate and going into the Navy, which is super cool. Like, what would be your advice to people that are listening that are still figuring things out and like navigating those new stages in their life?
Yeah, there's never a wrong decision. You'll learn something from absolutely everything you do.
That's
and
so
it'll be the weirdest circumstances which you'll learn something from. Like, I remember... And actually, there's a lot of situations I've gone through and I've thought, that's what I don't want in the future.
Yeah.
Like, so I worked as a vaccinator, for example, in my first year, like vaccinating during COVID. And it was great. Like, I met so many interesting people. It was just insane how little training I had to then be able to have so much responsibility. But I found that a lot. I was like, I don't feel like I'm fully comfortable with this. Like, I'm not in my, like, element, and I know there's an element of like you just kind of fake it till you make it. Medical stuff is not the area that I want to be doing that in. And I was like,
it's like a bad experience is a good experience.
Yeah, like it was good at the time, But I found the pressure was a lot, and I was like, you know what? In the future, I want a job that like is going to be fulfilling, but not one where I feel like I'm out of my depth and people could get hurt because of it.
Because at the end of the day, we're young and you're figuring out those things. So like, if you have a bad experience, it shows you that's not what I want out of a career. That's not the type of culture that I want, or that's not the type of hours that I want, or I like that aspect but not that aspect. Yeah. So I think that's really good.
You learn something from everything, and actually looking for what you're learning from stuff, not necessarily what was good or bad. I think that good and bad is very binary.
I think also you're allowed, like, you have time to figure that out as well. Yeah. I feel like you've done so much. Like, some of the random things you tell me about, I'm like, when did you do this?
Say yes to stuff, because otherwise you won't know.
You've done so much, and we still not spoke about your content, which is crazy. Because believe it or not, Imogen is not just like an amazing graduate from LSE, but you've also got a massive online platform, which I think would be amazing to talk about on YouTube. So what actually made you start?
So this was when I came back from Nepal. When I got brought home, I was like, I need a job. Like, I'm going crazy. I was reading a book a day, and that's only good for you for a certain amount of time, you know. I was sunbathing and reading, and I was like, I need a job. All my friends were getting jobs who I'd come back from Nepal with, who were on gap years. I was like, I'm going to get one. But this was during like COVID, right? So opportunities were working in a supermarket, but I was like, there are people who need that more than me. Like, I wasn't doing it for the money. I was doing it because I needed a purpose. And I was like, first of all, I'd applied to them and didn't get very far because there were so many people who needed jobs. Like, they were so oversubscribed. And I got an interview at a care home, because that was an area that I could work in. But obviously this is when like COVID was going crazy in a care home. And I mentioned to my parents, I was like, oh, I've got this interview. And they were like, no, like, we don't want you working there. And I was like, no, you can't be picky like this, you know. And they're like, no, but you won't be able to see grandma because you'll be putting her at risk, like stuff like that. And they were like, no. And my mum was like, Imogen, you spend a lot of time watching YouTube. We're talking the likes of, like,
so she gave you the idea?
Eve Bennett, Unjaded J.
You spoke about it.
She was like, why don't you do it? And I was like, no, that is social suicide. Like, honestly, I remember those words coming out of my mouth. I was like, absolutely not, Sarah. I was like, what will people think of me? And then I was like, you know what? I've been out of school for 9 months. Who do I actually say? It's not those girls that I went to, like...
That was the same process.
Sorry, I will say something quickly with that. We spoke about it before and why we started ours in our first episode. And that's actually the reason why I started before I started sixth form.
Right, because then...
I would never have started it at the point in fifth form, which is year...
Fifth form?
Yeah, year...
12?
What's fifth? Year 11.
Fifth form?
Yeah, that's how we say it. It's like...
Whoa, I've never heard of that.
We'll speak about that another time. But like, I could have never done it with the people that were in my school then. Topic for another day.
You need a break.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm not that fussed.
Do you prefer YouTube or TikTok? Because I know you make TikToks as well. Which community do you prefer?
Gosh, I get less hate on YouTube.
Yeah.
You get hate on...
Less hate on... Not hate. Well, I just get people will comment more stuff. Like you reach a wider audience, don't you? On TikTok?
Yeah, exactly. And I think with TikTok, you're in people's faces that don't actually want to see your content. You might just end up in someone's For You page and they're like, why the hell is this girl telling me about how to get into LSE? I don't even want to go to LSE. Whereas with YouTube, you've actually specifically searched LSE. And if you search LSE, you'll see Imogen, Praise, Alicia, whatever you see. You actually want to see that. So I think that's a big part of it.
And for me, my content is like kind of... It's like two-pronged now. So there's my triathlon stuff and then there's my LSE stuff. So LSE has always been on YouTube because I need more time. Like, the application process is so zipping along that it needs a whole 10-minute video. But a triathlon, you know, like, I don't come into that with any particular background. I've just got my experience. Whereas that LSE, I would like to think, like, from reading the website and going through it, like, you know quite a bit. There's quite a lot to share, and quite a lot of, like, specific info. With, like, running, it's literally like, here's me running along a street.
True.
That
better for TikTok.
Short form content.
That's interesting.
So they have two different... Yeah, and there's two different communities, I think. That kind of hit.
And then you mentioned off camera that I made my comeback to YouTube. I broke the silence after 8 months. Can we expect a comeback from Imogen anytime soon? What do you think?
Do you know what? I'm not sure we can because although I'm not at work at the moment, I'm going back in a couple of weeks or whatever. And when I'm training with the Royal Navy at the moment, which is pretty intense. When I'm doing that, there's absolutely no time for like creating content and stuff like that. So I don't think so. And do you know what? YouTube was great, but it was a part of my life when, like, I think you have to have a job or you have to have it has to fit. For me, it was always YouTube fitted around my life. It was a way of documenting, for me as well as for everyone else, but like what I was doing and helping other people through a process, particularly with LSE, that's very complicated. I can't offer that same opportunity.
I think regardless, you have an amazing legacy and you've helped many people get into LSE.
Yeah, and
that
will
continue.
They'll
always be there.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I don't intend to take anything down. And if one day I want to create a video about something else cool that I'm doing, fine. Like,
I'm going to be crossing my fingers and hoping for that day. Yeah.
The day you do it, we'll do a reaction.
We will.
But it just doesn't fit with my life now.
I appreciate that honesty and transparency, because I often also feel like you can tell when someone might not actually be into something. So like, say someone else was in your situation and they just continued posting for the sake of it, so that like
your heart has to be in it as well. If you're spending 10 hours editing a video, which, let's be honest, like, that's no walk in the park. And I know
it takes long, guys. You don't understand how long it takes to edit.
And like I was a little slapdash with my editing. It was a bit like chuck it all together, get it out, you know. Yeah. But like you guys have like beautifully looking videos. It must take ages and ages to edit.
As I take a lot of inspo from Praise's editing. Hers is incredible.
I remember sitting in the library one day and being like, Praise, how do you actually do that?
I remember. I love that about us.
I just sat there and like chopped some clips together and like, if I was lucky, you could get a bit of music on the back. You know? Very raw and authentic, we'll call it. But like, you've got to have, your heart's got to be in it to sit and look at something for that long. And like, I've used those editing skills still. I still use the skills. You know
what?
It's so transferable to so many things you do.
That's actually a really good little, I'll say it quickly, but good little tangent. I feel like what's crazy is you don't realise how valuable your passions and your hobbies can be in like a professional setting. Because see, the video editing thing, when I was on my consulting internship, there was a little project I did. It was digital, and there was a chance to like edit a video that the CEO would watch, and like out of my entire team, and they're obviously way more experienced than me in terms of their education and work experience, I was the only person that could edit and use Final Cut Pro. So it actually was really valuable, like, and I was the person that was in charge of editing that. I thought that was cool. Like, I didn't think it would come in handy.
And it's not just that, like, I don't know about you, but you've taught yourself some really cool stuff on Final Cut.
Yeah,
like,
you have.
I watched some YouTube, like 4 YouTube videos, and was like, great, I'm an expert. This is but like, we've all taught ourselves how to use this program
from scratch. Actually, like, you're self-taught. That's what I love about it.
Exactly, cool. And in any professional setting, you're going to have to use like new platforms, new things. All the time. Like when people are like, I remember applying for a job and it was like, you're going to need to use Salesforce, and I was like, what the heck is that?
Oh my god,
I was like, but don't worry. In that covering letter, I was like, I have self-taught myself to edit. And do you know what? You're like,
no, true,
okay,
fast learner.
Yeah, stretching slightly there, but like, if you can teach yourself Final Cut, you could. I mean, that thing is not
Excel,
intuitive.
Spreadsheet. Yeah.
You can teach yourself Excel. You can teach yourself like. You've got that ability
to learn, willingness to learn,
and that's what it shows.
And it also shows like determination for you to actually like
start
from scratch,
and
continue. It came up in my training contract interview as well.
Really,
actually, because I did put YouTuber at
the
bottom, and he actually cared about it, and that's why I picked my firm.
It's something that's interesting and sets you apart from all the other people. To be fair,
so
it's also like you can talk in front of a camera. If you can talk in front of a camera, you can talk in front of people generally. You know,
it's helped. Like, I will say,
the public speaking aspect of it.
Just, the confidence.
And getting your head around like how to put sentences together, like silly things,
structuring
like
things, that sort of thing.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the next and final segment before we bring this amazing episode. Thank you, Imogen, for coming to a close. Which is blind rankings, sports edition. So I'm going to give you 5 options, and you're not actually going to know what it is. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say football, it's not on here. And out of 5, you're going to either have to put that 4th or 5th, or like.
But I won't know what the other words are.
You won't know. Unfortunately,
and it's 1 to 5. Right.
Okay. So, firstly, I'm going to put for you swimming.
Open water in a pool. Can I ask questions? If I've got to be quick. Open water in a pool.
Either.
Open water, and I can't swim, so
open water.
I would die. I would literally drown.
3.
Okay. 3. Running.
1.
Okay. Hockey.
5.
Cycling.
Oh, this now really depends on what the last one is. Let's go 2.
And then table tennis.
Oh yeah, 4.
Okay,
I think that's
you did that really well.
What did I go for? Running, then cycling, then swimming.
Then table tennis.
Table tennis and hockey.
Yeah, I feel like I was expecting that from you, to be honest.
Really?
That's actually
so
crazy.
if I was to do it now knowing them all, you'd get... Running would still be number 1.
Yeah.
Love my life. Number 2 would be swimming. I prefer swimming to cycling. Number 3 would definitely be cycling.
Yeah.
Then we'd have hockey.
Yeah,
and then table
played
tennis.
hockey.
Hockey's outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do love a bit of the outside. I wouldn't know which... Like, I have attempted... I've dabbled.
Okay,
I've been in goal. That's petrifying.
That would scare me more.
For those that don't know, Praise plays hockey.
Praise is a hockey player.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I was social member of the LSE hockey team. Social.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's how I met your friend.
Yeah,
okay,
I went to give it a go.
Yeah.
And didn't know which way up to hold a hockey stick, kind of thing.
But proud of you.
And for those that don't know, Alicia is not an athlete and she does not know what's going on. Right?
And table tennis, no.
I'm bad
I've
at
got
that.
no coordination. So at least like hockey has some running involved. Like
Yeah,
I
it
could
does.
probably be alright on that
And teamwork.
Yeah.
I don't feel like your other options do have that.
No, well, I don't know. Running is like the big
Right,
trend.
unless you join a run club.
Unless it's
me
a
and my
relay race.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, Alicia.
I did run at school. That's the only thing.
Did you?
I did 100 meters.
Fair
I was a
enough.
sprinter.
Triathlon's more of a team sport than you think.
How?
Is it?
Oh, the community with it, because it takes a blooming
village. It takes a village.
Triathlon would kill
me. It takes a village to get you to the start line of a triathlon, like getting all that kit.
It's running, swimming, cycling, isn't it?
Yeah.
That would kill me.
Like the swimming, obviously swimming is like completely individual, but the cycling triathlon is draft illegal, but like you'll pass people and they'll say hello and stuff.
I'm sorry, I actually don't know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I don't. Draft illegal, so like when you pop in behind somebody else, when you're on a bike, they take all the wind and like it goes round them. So
is that why in the Olympics they were running behind, like
they
running,
do this,
cycling behind, and then go behind?
Yeah, that's what it is.
That is crazy.
I did not
to
know
me, it made
that.
no sense. I still don't understand it, but that
I just
helps
learned
a bit of
something new.
explanation.
Yeah, but you do that. Like I go out with a cycle group. Like most people who cycle won't go on rides like all the time on their own. So like on a Sunday, I'll go cycling with my dad and his friends.
And then you've got a little injury from swimming.
Yeah, before I do need to mention this.
You can see it on the camera.
So I have a mark on my neck at the moment, which is because I went open water swimming for the first time in a year on Monday. And I learnt last year that when you put a wetsuit on, you need to put Vaseline on your neck and take your necklace off so it doesn't all rub. I did forget this time, and I paid the price.
Did you keep your necklace on?
Kept my necklace on.
Even I would have taken that.
I mean, that's
painful.
over the top, but I've always swum in my necklace, but it's over the top of my wetsuit, so I don't think that was the problem. But where my wetsuit is tight to my neck, and then you twist.
That's
free,
painful.
It like basically cuts into your neck or burns. Like, yeah. So I'm gonna have a nice little scar there.
The last thing I want to ask you that we ask all of our guests, but just let's keep it quick fire, is if you were to give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? To little Imogen.
Say yes to everything and look at what you can learn from situations, even if they didn't go how you wanted them to.
I really like that. I feel like it fits well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Really interesting.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, it's been great. I feel like I've caught up with two friends.
Yeah, it literally is.
Nice. Well, that has been our episode with Imogen on To My Younger Self. It's been your girl Praise.
And it's been Alicia.
And
Imogen.
Oh, sorry.
And Imogen. And we will see you next week with another episode of To My Younger Self.
Thank you guys. Bye.